What's going on, everybody? I'm Flight Mike, and I'm here with
Mike Korzemba.
And Get Like Coop. What's good, guys?
This is the Laced Up Podcast. How you gentlemen doing? How was your 4th of July weekend? I apologize for the week we took off last week, guys, but we're back.
Yeah, so a lot happened in my life. You know, you got the crutches right here, ruptured the Achilles. So yeah, I've had an eventful couple of weeks. You could say that. What about you guys?
I've been chilling. I'm currently on a diet to finally lose this quarantine fat, and it leads me to have no energy a lot. But we're on the podcast, and I'm ready. So Team USA just took back-to-back losses. And, all right, so we lost to Nigeria. We'll say we, because we're, United States. Lost to Nigeria, lost to Australia. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Australia is actually, though, ranked number 3 in the world or something. So that's not as bad. But taking back-to-back losses is horrendous because I'm basing this off of what I saw on ESPN. But as I was watching, ESPN this morning, I saw that since 1992, we have lost 4 total exhibition games, and 2 of those have come this week.
Yeah, so the thing about Team USA is historically we've always been dominating, correct? Except for, there were aberrations here and there. But the impression that I was starting to get is that the NBA doesn't want to send their absolute best, their cream of the crop, best players onto Team USA in favor of some more of the stars of tomorrow and maybe some players that just need a little bit of a confidence boost.
I don't think that's true. I don't think the star. Yeah,
well, we got Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, we got Draymond,
Damian Lillard, we got
Dame. Kevin Love.
I think just some of those older guys just didn't want to play. I don't think it's because we didn't.
Which is understandable because all right. Before we jump into this fully Team USA, I was looking at me and Tom, editor Tom, shout out Tom. We were looking at the start of next season currently. There's no specific date slated. However, it said the start of next season they're trying to get back to where they were middle of October. That is what it currently says if you Google start of the 2022 NBA season. So we heard LeBron, we heard all these guys complain about injuries already. That's no downtime at all, especially if you're on Team USA.
Yeah. That's rough, bro. That's rough, no doubt.
It's like they learned nothing from. Well, I don't want to say this is a direct result of what happened to Paul George when he suffered his freak leg injury on Team USA, but it's almost as if the NBA really doesn't care about preserving its stars. I think we've suffered the most injuries to all stars in the NBA this year since I don't know the exact year.
For sure. It's I think around since 2010. I think the report that there was a report filed around June where it's not just stars. This was the most injuries that have taken place, and this is just only basketball injuries or anything non-pandemic related injuries, sitting out for that. The most since it started getting tracked in 2010.
Yeah, so guys, we are capping off the giveaway to the first 40,000 subscribers that turn on our notifications for the Laced Up Podcast. All you have to do to enter for a chance to win a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series X is subscribe, hit that notification bell. If you want to do us a favor, leave a like on the pod and let me know in the comment section down below when it's done. You'll enter for a chance to win a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series X.
Yeah, so to add on to what Flight Mike was saying about us not sending our best players, who else could we possibly send outside of Curry, who's who's getting up there in age, and Bron and Kawhi, who's hurt, and Paul George, who understandably might not want to play for Team USA anymore. In my opinion, I just think the world has caught up fast. A lot of today's stars are international players. I really can't think of anybody, well, outside of Trae Young too, I can't think of that many more players that I could possibly add to this roster that are just big name guys.
Yeah, well, I also look at the roster and I think to myself, it doesn't really make you feel like this is the absolute best we could have sent there, and understandably so. Like you said before, there would be a reason why LeBron probably wouldn't want to play anymore, or Curry getting up there in years. Typically, once you hit your mid 30s, you typically, or like some people your early 30s, that's when you stop going for gold with Team USA. But like, you know, you look at this roster, and first of all, Devin Booker and Chris Middleton can't play because of obvious reasons.
Andrew Holiday.
Yep. Yeah, Andrew Holiday. And you have players like Jeremy Grant, Draymond Green, which, nothing against Draymond Green, Coop, relax. Nothing against Draymond Green.
I love Draymond. No, don't do that. I love Draymond.
Honestly, I think Coop right now is going, if only we had Serge Ibaka, we would have blown him out by 30.
Well, for one, he plays for Spain. You know, just throw that out there. Just throw that out there.
We're about to get annihilated by Spain.
Yeah, I actually love him. I actually love Draymond's fit for Team USA because we just don't have enough defenders, man. Whoever put this roster together, do you have enough shot creating guards? Like, I look at the way the roster is assembled, and it's like, how could you possibly expect these guys to coexist at the highest level? Now, they're so talented, I think, that eventually, you know, they get it together. But like, we got guys like Bradley Beal, Zach LaVine going out there trying to be 3-and-D players. You know, it's not a great fit.
Yeah, that like it. You're for sure right. I mean, I think the thing is, Drew is definitely the best defensive guard out of these guys. He's not playing right now, but like, we shouldn't have to be relying on Drew Holiday to come in and save Team USA. That seems absurd. We have some good, you know, big man defenders in Bam and Draymond, but, you know, Chris Middleton holds his own. So also, again, with the Bucks. But yeah, like you said, a lot of just create your own shot, shoot first guys. And when you get into international play, like, I mean, I hope this isn't what happens, but this is potentially setting up a recipe for disaster. Now, to be fair, Nigeria did just annihilate Argentina.
Nigeria is nice.
They just beat Argentina, who was ranked 4th in the world, by 23.
And they could be better, bro. And they could be better. Imagine if Giannis was playing for Nigeria. Imagine if Bam decided to play for Nigeria. God. I think Victor Oladipo is Nigerian too. So correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I mean, they have the potential to be an absolutely devastating team, and they're already dirty right now.
With that in mind, though, like, if we're being real, like, okay, like, we could say the rest of the world caught up, but like, this is a team that's relying on guys like Jaleel Okafor, like Ekpe Udoh, Josh Okogie. I said that last name right? Okogie?
Yeah, you said it right.
Precious Achua. Guys. Whatever. A bunch of guys that just straight up are NBA role players at best in some cases, or, you know, Josh is good, but
I like Precious too.
Yo, honestly, I've got a beef with Precious. He came down. It came down to like 2 or 3 final teams. St. John's was one of them, and he spurned us. So you know what? I took that loss a little harder with watching Precious be good.
Flight Mike, did you see what Precious posted about Kevin Durant? Did you see what he posted to IG?
Yeah, I saw that.
Let me know.
Bro. Okay, so Precious took to IG after blocking Kevin Durant in the USA-Nigeria game. And you know that meme where the guy goes, "You're not that guy, pal. You're not that guy."
Oh, yeah.
He put that caption as he's blocking Kevin Durant, a Hall of Fame player, a guy that's going to go down as one of the best scorers, one of the best players to play the game.
I love that.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me, you're not that guy.
KD, bro.
I'm shocked that Kevin Durant didn't respond. Like,
me
that's
too.
Like, yeah, it's like, oh my god.
honestly, I think if that were to happen in the NBA, he would respond. But with Team USA, I think there's such a winning culture of, like, it's just like, and again, like, you know, guys like Stephen A got ripped for, like, you know, talking about this was embarrassing. I don't want to say it's embarrassing or anything like that. I just think that Team USA is held to such a high standard that any loss is looked upon, like, very negatively. And so, like, I don't think KD, he'd be in the right to, you know, attack back here, because it's like, yeah, like, the backlash would be incredible. Like people would just be like, dude, you lost. You know, we're Team USA. You lost. Just take it.
Yeah, and I think international basketball is reffed way different than the NBA. So obviously, you know, a lot of these guys, they haven't had to play defenses like this. Like it's like almost every high level international team is so locked in and has a continuity with them to where like they're making the right rotation. They're playing hard every possession. They're not allowing easy baskets. There were a few plays where guys like Jason Tatum, who, you know, are supposed to be, you know, solid to good defenders in the NBA, are just giving up easy baskets on backdoor cuts. And I mean, the rotations and everything has just not been there for Team USA. So I got a quick question for you guys. Personally, I think the game has passed Pop up a little bit, and I'm not sure that he's the right coach for Team USA. I'm not sure people are still buying in to Pop's game plans as they did like 10 years ago. My question for you guys is, do you guys feel like Pop is the right coach for Team USA?
I think I'd rather have Steve Kerr out there.
Yeah, I do. I could see what you're
Especially
saying.
with him as an assistant, like.
Yeah, I could see what you're saying, Coop, because I kind of had the same philosophy towards Popovich ever since, I guess, the second or third, like the third year of the LaMarcus Aldridge era. And it wasn't like anything against Pop. I just think that his strategy is a little bit outdated. And like, he's even given me like at least some sort of undertones of, hey, like, the game isn't what it used to be. Like, very old head speak, if you know what I mean. Like, I remember he was quoted saying something along the lines of, like, the beauty of basketball is gone, which I could see his point because, like, if you look at his prime teams, even, like, his most recent championship team, like, the way the San Antonio Spurs would work for basketball shots and, like, the way the motion offense was constructed was beautiful. But now it's clearly not as effective as it used to be now that there are more teams overly reliant on the three-point jump shot.
God. Wait, all right.
Go ahead,
to add to your point, I just was looking this up. It just adds to your point perfectly. I mean, the Spurs ranked dead last 30th in three-point attempts per game this year.
Yeah, it's like, it's kind of like, I feel the same way about him as I do towards Phil Jackson, you know? Legendary head coaches, but their philosophies don't really translate to the modern NBA anymore.
Yeah, I saw somewhere that he played DeMar DeRozan I saw somewhere that he played DeRozan a lot at power forward this year. And look, you know, I'm not the best basketball mind out there. I can admit that, but I'm just not sure DeRozan at power forward would be the answer to any problem.
I think, I don't like saying this. I never want to say this, but just looking at Pop, I think it might be time for him to hang it up. You know, he's a legendary head coach, quite possibly one of the best.
And also, you figure like with all that ball movement and, you know, that Spurs style of basketball, you figure like that style of basketball would be perfect for Team USA. Now, obviously, you want more three-point attempts, but, you know, the way the international game is played, it's not a one-on-one game. So, Pop, if you're like still that guy, now's like the perfect chance to show what you're capable of doing with a roster that's incredibly stacked.
I think tinkering with his offensive system, like it's really funny because in the NFL, one of the like best head coaches or like the best head coaches are coaches that have been in the NFL the longest and have consistently like messed with their offensive playbook. Like I think of the Chiefs and Andy Reid, or I think of Bill Belichick, who messed with his defense over the years. And those are the coaches that typically are the most successful. I feel like a similar approach has to be taken by Greg Popovich, where he has to just go into his lab, really tinker with his system. He's one of the best basketball minds in the in the game. I have faith in him for doing it, but I do think there needs to be a change.
You know, I'll say I don't have faith in him for doing it. First of all, I do have the DeMar DeRozan stats. So he played about 70% of his minutes at the power forward spot this year, 30% at small forward. Shout out cleaningtheglass.com.
Did you just say 70%?
He played 70% at the power forward spot. Now, the team was slightly better on offense, but also notably worse on defense with him at power forward. And as we all know, the team, they were not in the playoffs this year. They didn't work out. So he's got DeMar playing power forward. Didn't work out. I don't think that's a move. What's actually kind of funny is I think Zach Lowe was really hyping this up in the beginning of the season because I think it was working at first, but it obviously didn't end up working. And so why I say that Pop really, I'm not fully confident in him changing his coaching is that just there's been nothing he's done would show us that. And you got a guy like Mike Krzyzewski at Duke. And Mike Krzyzewski has always said, and he's been saying this since he literally was coaching in the 80s or whenever, 70s, whenever he started. He said that he does not create an offensive system that he sticks to. He brings in talent, and then he creates an offensive system based on the talent that he has. Because, of course, especially, in college, one year you might have a superstar point guard. The next year, your best guy might be, a pick and roll big, or you have shooters along the wing. And it's worked out incredibly well for Duke. Mike Krzyzewski is the perfect example of someone who's been able to go era from era to era and remain constantly great as a coach. Pop, and I don't really want to, we've been piling on him a bit at this point, so I don't want to go, too far, because the man, is arguably, not even arguably, is one of the greatest basketball coaches of all time, NBA basketball coaches for sure, just with everything that he's accomplished. But like Mike said, he did have that quote where he just was I don't really, he doesn't love the way basketball is being played. And if you're going to fight against the way that it's being played, at this point, you're just fighting a losing battle because it's just not going to happen. You can't be ranking 30th in the league in 3-point attempts. You just see it doesn't work out. Teams, for a great reason, are shooting the three way more. And it's kind of we're in a situation they couldn't backtrack on him being the Olympic coach. But also, it was definitely pointed out on ESPN that out of those 4 exhibition losses that we've ever had, that 3 have also just come under Pop. So he is responsible for 3 of our 4 exhibition losses on Team USA right now, which blame the players, blame what you want, but that's just a fact.
So I wanted to, hopefully we are able to get it together. Hopefully by next pod, we could say some positive stuff about Team. Yeah. I wanted to, discuss make a little transition to the NBA. I don't know if you guys saw, but this morning, one of my favorite sources, I think all of our favorite source, Shams Charania, dropped a huge article on The Athletic discussing where the 76ers stand on Ben Simmons. And it appears, at least in my opinion, where a week ago or 2 weeks ago, I would have said that the Sixers are doing whatever it takes to, improve on Ben Simmons. They didn't want to sell when his stock and his value was at an all-time low. It seems like it's a foregone conclusion that next year Ben Simmons won't be on the Philadelphia 76ers. And that's as a result of this quote saying that sources say that teams that have engaged with the 76ers about Simmons have been met with a high price threshold for the 3-time All-Star, and that they want an All-Star caliber player in return. This is consistent with another report that we got 2 weeks ago from Jason Dumas that said the same thing when the 76ers turned down Malcolm Brogdon and a first-round pick for Ben Simmons. So what do you guys think of this? Do you think Ben Simmons is going to get traded? Who do you think can use Ben Simmons the most?
Can I make a point right before we jump into this? Is that I find it hilarious that Australia just beat us without Ben Simmons playing. He chose not to play. If he had been playing and played well and beat us, the reaction, he could have turned away around his public perception immediately. Literally, people would have been like, dude, Ben Simmons just crushed us. Oh man, he puts up a triple double, 15, 10, and 10. And suddenly the Sixers are going, yes, Ben, yes, get us our trade value. Yes. But instead, of course, he chose to focus, I think very correctly, on his own game. I think it's hilarious that we literally just lost to Australia without Ben, and he had the chance to be a part of beating us, and it would have just given him a nice buzz publicly. Yeah, it would have been funny.
Is he focusing on his game though? Like, I don't mean to be
Well, I mean,
cynical,
that's what he
but
says. Who knows?
Yeah, I'm just gonna take his word for it. I'm just gonna take his word for it.
He's yeah.
We
like,
don't.
I don't know.
why-
Shouldn't take his word for it.
I understand. Yeah, I look. I understand why you wouldn't.
He's been saying that for the past 4 years, bro. The past 4 years, this man was supposed to come into the NBA with his jump shot.
If I'm Ben Simmons, I'm creating a Twitch channel. Like, no, he already has Twitch. Whatever. I am just live streaming my shooting workouts every day on Twitch.
Hell no.
Just
Hell no. Do you know
just
the
so that
clips
everyone
that would
knows.
come from that? Hell no. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that.
I'm just saying that would be some content.
Exactly why I wouldn't do it. Like, the internet would go crazy with those Ben Simmons clips.
Yeah,
That's
I
what
mean,
I would love it.
I'm hoping he's really working on his game. I've maintained ever since the whatever happened during the NBA during the Eastern Conference Finals, the Eastern Conference semifinals. I maintained that the way that everything went down and the way everyone's reaction to Ben afterwards, it just seemed like he had to go at that point. And it's just, like, this really was, before any of this even happened, there was a ton of buzz where it was like, if this isn't the season with Embiid and Simmons, like, maybe break them up, because it just hasn't been happening. And I don't think you could have possibly picked a worse way for Ben Simmons to, like, go out and play in that series. His free throw percentage was awful. His last game, he had that, the pass where that will never be forgotten, probably passing up that dunk. So I think that they will trade him, and I think that there are plenty of teams that are willing to trade for him. Now, they want an all-star caliber player in return. That to me is very interesting, because that removes the Warriors from consideration. And so instead we're looking at teams like the Blazers. Dame fans, I know, you're already hating on me for bringing up Dame in a trade, but we got the Blazers. We've got the Timberwolves with maybe D'Angelo Russell, which I also want to point out, some people are getting, all right, everyone needs to understand Ben Simmons' trade value is not like at the floor or anything. The man is going to get traded for a good package. Like, they turned down Malcolm Brogdon already. We saw that. Like, he's going, and teams are still actively interested. It wasn't like that turned away teams. That is telling. Once Malcolm Brogdon got turned down for Ben Simmons and everyone is still very interested in making offers, that shows where his trade value is at, because teams are still trying to then one up that Brogdon offer because they know that was already said no to. So I'm just saying Ben Simmons' trade value isn't as low as people are making it, because I'm seeing articles out here that are just straight up nuts and, like, disrespectful to Ben Simmons. People are trying to somehow say that the Timberwolves can acquire Ben without giving up either D'Angelo Russell or Anthony Edwards. They think that he's going to be traded for, like, Malik Beasley and some stuff. It's like, no, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, so with Ben, you're not getting Dame. I can't believe you said that. You're not getting Dame for Ben in, like, no reality.
I didn't say that they're gonna get Dame. I'm just saying that that's like a name that
You were like, I'm sorry, Blazers fans.
I said I'm sorry, Blazers fans, for mentioning Dame, but
You didn't have to mention Dame. You did that on your own accord. They're not getting Dame.
I don't think it's the craziest.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
The craziest trade for Ben, Maxey, and Thibault.
Yeah, like, no, I don't think it would be that type of trade. I think it would be more along the lines of Damian Lillard for Ben Simmons and, like, future first round picks, like 3 or 4 years down the line, that are, like, unprotected, that will, like, screw over, like, very similar to what happened with the Clippers and Paul George and the OKC Thunder trade. I feel like that would be a trade that the Blazers would agree to, mainly because they would be better with that trade as opposed to just holding on to Dame.
That doesn't make sense, though. They're not going to be bad anytime soon. Like, I mean,
they're stuck in purgatory right now, bro.
But no,
like,
if you give the 76ers Dame and Embiid, we're counting rings. Like, they're not going to be bad anytime soon. Embiid's like, what, 27 years old? Like,
Dame's turns 31 tomorrow.
And he's going to be good for at least like 4 or 5 more years. Embiid's going to be good for probably like another 6 or 7 at least. Like, they're not going to be bad anytime soon. I'm not buying that.
I'm saying also it could not. I mean, Embiid could go down at any time.
Yeah,
he could, but if you're relying on that, in a trade, like you lost.
And like
that's why I said Maxine Thibault.
It's not
and then
relying
also,
on
probably first round picks.
Yeah, I'm saying like it is I think it is a trade that makes sense. I think it's a trade that like Daryl Morey would
for the. I'm sorry to cut you off. Like I've been doing it a lot. I'm really sorry. But also for the Blazers, I think you want a younger asset than Ben Simmons. I mean,
yeah, that's
like,
fair.
With Ben, you're gonna have to win fairly soon. So if I'm them, I just want to go younger. I'd want a younger.
Would you
star.
rather them go with the Warriors package?
I don't know.
Because Dame is really hard. Like it's like
Yeah.
he's so valuable that it's like, what do you actually pull the trigger on? Like Warriors package, like that means you better hope, like you better be believing that James Wiseman's a future All-Star if you're trading that. And then if like, you know, there's been Knicks talks with RJ Barrett.
Well, if you get James Wiseman, then what do you do with Joel Embiid? You can't play them together.
No, I'm talking Dame for.
Oh, I thought you were talking
What?
about the Sixers.
Yeah.
No.
I mean the Warriors. If I were the Trailblazers, if I'm any team that is even remotely considering a rebuild, I would definitely hit up the Warriors immediately, because there are times where like a lot of times I feel like teams just look at potential trades as like backup plans or like not the most ideal scenario. But in the case of like Damian Lillard, I do think it's in the Blazers' best interest to move on from Damian Lillard for a trade package around like Wiseman, two lottery first round picks, and Andrew Wiggins and Kelly Oubre. I think
and then you get what you can out of CJ too, and you know you're completely rebuilding. I mean, I feel like Blazers fans just don't want to hear this. I was even talking to a Blazers fan recently, and like I was just like, where do you go from here if you don't blow it up, if you don't like how do you make your team better than the Nets and every other team that is a contender for next year? And I don't have any answer to that.
No, most definitely not.
Well, I think you just want to make your team as good as possible, and I think a big step in doing that, we've talked about this a few times, I think a big step in doing that would just be getting off those picks. I'm not trading Dame until I'm like 5 first-round picks in debt. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not trading Dame until I made sure we've exhausted all avenues. That's just me personally.
It's really funny because, I guess this would officially be a transition. I don't know if you guys heard yesterday, but the Warriors have had discussions about trading for Damian Lillard. So he's definitely like one of the top guys on their list. And obviously, we mentioned it multiple times. They have that 7th pick. They have the 14th pick. If you're the they have James Wiseman. They have Kelly Oubre. Andrew Wiggins is a great salary cap filler. If you're the Golden State Warriors, what would you say is your wish list for stars that you could potentially acquire via trade this offseason? Would Damian Lillard be a guy that would he be like the top guy on your list? Because a backcourt of Damian Lillard and Steph Curry would be absolutely terrifying. Or would you think that this doesn't necessarily make as much sense? Do you think that this is just something that Steve Kerr and Bob Myers had a 20-second conversation about, or do you think this is something that could actually happen?
I don't know. I definitely would love to see Dame and Steph play. That'd be incredible. Of course, there'd be defensive concerns with that backcourt.
Yeah, but at that point, they're so good that
they're so good that that's not a normal defensive concern. That's not like going, okay, Anthony Edwards and D'Angelo Russell, or like LaMelo.
Yeah,
you know, you remember when Minnesota was like, all right, LaMelo and D'Angelo Russell, who can they guard? It's like, all right, well, no one's guarding Steph and Dame both, so like you're at an advantage no matter what. I mean, I think if I'm the Warriors, my plan 1A and 1B is Dame or Bradley Beal. Because
I agree.
Bradley Beal, though, has a player option after next year. Dame is locked in for like 4 or 5 years or something. So, you know, Dame's locked in. Bradley Beal, I think if the Wizards want to go that route, you know, I do that too with the Warriors. The only thing is you can't, you could get probably a verbal commitment from Bradley Beal, but nothing's being put in writing. You know, if you make that trade.
Yeah. So my question is, I don't think Kawhi is available. Or I don't want to say I don't think he's available, but I think Kawhi likely resigns with the Los Angeles Clippers. But my question is, would you rather Dame or Kawhi if you were the Golden State Warriors?
Well, in terms of fit, Kawhi obviously, but I think in terms of what's the most realistic, I'd have to agree with Korzemba with Damian Lillard. The one thing that everyone omits every time there's a rumor surrounding him is the man signed a supermax contract 2 years ago. It begins this year. He's there for the next 5 years. Like, until his age 35 season, Dame is going to be on the Portland Trailblazers. He could be held there against his will if the Trailblazers wanted to do that. So I don't know how he would force his way out. It's a little bit sticky. You'd have to provide so much value to the Portland Trailblazers that it's like an offer that they cannot refuse.
Or he just hits up that club life, becomes best friends with a rapper, and starts missing team practices.
The fat suit. Don't forget the fat suit.
And put on a nice little sumo, go to a Halloween store, get a sumo suit, put that over your basketball jersey or under, and boom, you're good to go. You'll be traded for pennies.
Well, James Harden's contract situation was a little bit different because in the case of Damian Lillard, we're talking about a guy whose contract expires in 4 or 5 years. James Harden's contract expired at the end of next year. He had 2 years left at the time that he was being traded. So
yeah, but you know what? I think in the case of Dame, I think Portland would do right by him. I think if he was listen, I've been here for this long, I really want to just go at this point. I think that they would make that happen.
I think realistically, what's going to happen is the Golden State Warriors acquire Bradley Beal in the offseason. And the main reason being, and I hope Warriors fans don't crucify me for this, and I hope I'm wrong about this, but I've said this on the pod a couple of times. I don't know what I could expect coming from out of Klay Thompson once he returns. It's nothing against him. It's just, yeah, it's look, his game isn't based upon his athleticism at all. And I think this is the first time we've seen a situation where, Klay is mainly known for his incredible ability to shoot. And now you're getting a guy who just absolutely over the past 2 years, an ACL injury, an Achilles tear, is coming back from those at the same time, both of those. But that's not really his bread and butter. It's his ability to shoot. So how many minutes per game could you expect from Klay Thompson? Could his role be significantly reduced? Now, maybe he's a 20 to 25 minutes per game type of player. Maybe he's more of a sixth man now, which is okay because he's still one of the greatest shooters in the game. So I feel like in that instance, at that point, acquiring a Bradley Beal or a Damian Lillard would be in their best interest. Maybe another route that they could take, maybe, I don't really know, if the asking price is fairly low, I could also see Kevin Love potentially if the asking price is low for the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Well, doesn't he have a fat contract too?
Let me see when it expires.
Well, if we're talking about when it expires, then
it would be something like Wiggins and Oubre, and maybe I think just Wiggins alone. Yeah, just Wiggins alone matches the salary here. You slide Oubre into the small forward position. You have a guy that could play center and stretch the floor, great rebounder.
They're their best with Draymond at center. They were 15-5 when Wiseman went down. I'm not sure I'd want to bring in Kevin Love to.
I don't trust Kevin Love at all. Literally, do not. Yeah, I would rather just keep my assets and hope for a trade for next year.
I mean, 15-5 with Draymond's pretty good. I'm not bringing in Love to move Draymond around or to add another big to the concoction. That's just what I'm doing. I'm not doing that. To talk about Klay a little though, I gotta say, man, tearing the Achilles is some scary stuff. I have a newfound, I always respected players coming back from injury, but now I just have a crazy respect for players now. Whenever I'm walking, whenever I'm crutching, I feel like I could tear my Achilles in. I'm just so I feel like just like this situation is like just changed my life, and it's going to change how I play basketball. Honestly, like when I go back to the gym, obviously I'm not an NBA player. When I go back to the gym, I'm not going to be cutting hard. I'm not going to be jumping my highest. You know, it's like such a mental obstacle. Like there's like a hurdle that you legitimately have to overcome. And for Clay, for somebody that's faced like multiple major injuries, you know, I just really hope that he's able to bounce back and, you know, clear those hurdles and clear those obstacles, because I mean it's some serious stuff, man.
Well, they said that they've made it clear that they're going to, you know, hold out as long as it possibly takes, but then, you know, like you just never know, because, you know, who knows, like once you start actually playing on an NBA basketball games, until you've got like, you know, a solid 20-30 games under your belt, like you don't know if that's going to hold up. You don't know how he's going to play. And yeah, I mean, yeah, I would, dude, Bradley Beal to the Warriors would be sick. Dame would be sick. I think the Warriors are going to be making some move. Do you think there's any possibility of Ben Simmons to the Warriors? I mean, that's the Warriors. No, not to the Warriors. To the Wizards. To the Wizards.
Oh, I was thinking about that. If you do that, then you got to get Russell Westbrook out of there too. You know, like I don't see Ben Simmons and Russell Westbrook really being able to share
I think if they move
together.
Beal, then they're trying to move Russ as well.
Yeah.
Do you think Westbrook? Do you think Russell's tradable right now?
Yes, most
That's
definitely.
a good question.
I definitely think any team would happily take a flyer on Russ.
Any team would happily take on Russell Westbrook. As a Russell Westbrook fan, I don't know if that's true.
All right, that's someone I would not want him in the Bulls.
Why wouldn't you want him on the Bulls?
I mean,
because that's not where we're at. Like literally, we're like I'd rather just let our guys develop instead of having Russ.
Yeah, with all due respect, it takes a certain type of team to go in and get Russell Westbrook. What contending team would could you see going after Russell Westbrook?
And he's got $44.2 million next year, and then a $47 million player option for 2023 that he'll definitely accept.
I would say, trying to think of like point guard needs.
The Lakers.
Bro, what's up with you thinking the Lakers are going to get everybody delusional?
That was literally
the
title of our podcast 2 podcasts ago. Russ to the Lakers. So we can't not include the Lakers and back off completely.
I wanted to bring up, there's like multiple other trades in this article that just caught my eye. One that pertains to the Pelicans and that involves both of your favorite teams. So first of all, the first part of this is that the Pelicans are planning to hire Suns assistant and former New Orleans Pelicans player Willie Green as their new head coach.
Yep, we got our guy.
I love it.
I love it. I love it. He's young. He's young. He's played in the NBA. He was part of Golden State Warriors the Golden State Warriors championships in 2017 and 2018.
He's got the respect of Pelicans players apparently, and a lot of players around the league. So,
yeah. And then right underneath this is a Lonzo Ball update, and this update was fairly consistent with some of the stuff we were saying back when we were like in our early stages of the pod when we were talking about the trade deadline or players that are about to get traded. And that is that New Orleans is unlikely to match a significant offer sheet on Lonzo Ball. So I'm sure this sounds very familiar to you guys because we discussed this way back, and this is consistent. The Bulls and Clippers are expected to be among the teams interested in him. Guys, Korzemba, do you want the Bulls to have Lonzo Ball? Sign him?
Well, this
of course.
Tough.
No. All right,
I want him.
Yeah, I know.
I believe in Lonzo. I want to see. I think. See, the thing is, for our team, I think he fits in really well, especially if he can. Coop is low on his defense. But if he could, go back to his own, defensive reputation. He would fit really well.
I wouldn't say I was low on his defense. I'd say he didn't have the best defensive season, which is understandable because our whole team sucked. So
okay,
yeah.
So I feel like that's a good fit next to Zach more because he's more willing to spot up. He's more willing to like Zach initiates the offense from the 2, and then we've got Lonzo, who's been decently knocked down. You know, he's improved his shot a lot. Actually, recently I saw a bunch of clips of Lonzo. He was trending on Twitter where his jumper was looking nice. Like, I mean, we see that every year. Technically, you know, like we do see the Ben Simmons thing every year. However, when it comes to Lonzo, we have actually seen improvement.
So just what happens to Kobe White? Just forget Kobe White. What are we doing, man? What's going on?
Kobe White was already benched and was our 6th man with Thomas Satoransky.
So you're just throwing him away. You're just saying forget.
I'm
that
not saying
hype train.
Throw away Kobe White. I'm saying that, you know, play him at 6 man. Him and Zach
Kobe White.
Him and Zach are too similar. Then you trade him. They can't play together. They cannot play together. It doesn't. They've tried. We've been trying. I guess you could keep trying, but if you have just 2 score first, like get their own guards, it doesn't work.
You know, it's really funny.
It works better off the bench.
Do you remember when Kobe White was drafted?
But... What's up?
You remember when Kobe White was drafted and they interviewed him and they said, "How do you feel about Cam Johnson going number 11?" And like he gave us that like meme worthy moment. He's like, "That's crazy! Oh my god!" And have you guys ever seen that?
Yeah. He was like, my boy. Like, he got so happy.
Yeah, it's like it's kind of funny. Like Cam Johnson so far has had a little bit more career success than Kobe White has.
Senior out of he's just playing on an actual team.
Well, yeah, but like, you know, back then, if you said the Suns are going to be an actual team, people would have laughed at you.
Kobe averaged 15 and 5 this year with 4 rebounds. Like he had pretty good numbers. I mean,
and you're saying bring him off the bench, man. You heard me.
I'm not saying it. The Bulls themselves are saying it. We literally before Zach.
You're reiterating it. You just said it can't work. You're hurting my feelings, man.
Before Zach had his whole COVID protocol thing, Kobe was benched, and we were starting Thomas Satoransky just because we had no one else and wanted a pass first point guard that would play off of Zach. And Kobe, like, we wanted in the 6th man role. Then Zach went down, and Kobe played really well at times, still starting without Zach. He plays well without Zach. I'm not at all saying anything bad about Kobe in that. I'm just saying those 2 guys do not seem like they fit together. So
you think Lonzo Ball would be a better fit?
I definitely think that they would be a better fit in the backcourt, just playing off Zach. If we're going to make if Zach LaVine is the Bulls franchise player and we are banking on that as our guy, then yes, I would rather have a guy like Lonzo.
Also, to be fair, Kobe White's hella young. He's only 21. I mean, there's a chance that he does develop that chemistry with Zach LaVine. And if you go out and you pay Lonzo Ball, I'm not saying it's like a giant F you to Kobe White, but obviously you feel some type of way about them playing together, and obviously that kind of seals him into that bench role. That seals him into that 6-man role. There's not a lot of room.
I also like Lonzo, and
I get that.
He's an asset, though. Like, you could view Kobe as an asset as well. Like, you know, 6-man role.
Yeah, but if you lock him in as a 6-man as opposed to letting him grow, obviously his value is going to go down a little bit. Especially teams are going to be like,
still average like 28 to 30 minutes a game. I don't think it'll go down as much as you think.
Hopefully, but I mean, it's no secret that bench players, their value is typically lower than starters. And if teams see that you're valuing this guy as a bench guy, not saying it's a bad thing.
Well, also you have to keep in mind that Zach is a free agent next year. Like the clock is ticking on that. We can't just lose Zach. So if the Bulls believe that Lonzo is a better fit and will make Zach happier next to him, then that's what they'll do. You know, like no offense to Kobe, but we have, again, you know, Zach LaVine is out here this season.
All right, so what do you do?
27, 5 and 5.
All right, Kristen, but so what do you do if Zach likes Kobe, wants Kobe, but Zoe's the better fit? What do you do in that situation?
Then you just do what Zach wants, but that's not the case. They would not
Didn't say it was the case. Didn't say it was the case. It was just asking just presenting a hypothetical. So you'd rather do whatever to make the player happy instead of like,
just not do whatever, but just in this instance where Zach is literally on an expiring contract. Yes, you like we don't need to sign Lonzo. If Zach thinks that him and Kobe would work out better, then, let him be.
I think I'd side with trying to win. But I understand why you'd want to keep that potential free agent happy.
It's just an instance where it's like, it's not like a Zion instance where it's like, okay, you don't make him fully happy. Okay, you still have time to repair that relationship. You still have time. Like, this is literally a 1 season do or die.
I just stand on a different side of the fence when it comes to keeping players happy and winning. Like, I would much rather try to win than keep players appeased or happy, because players, I think, make the wrong decisions a lot of times. But to be fair, so do front offices. So, it's kind of like,
it doesn't
it is.
Doesn't fully go like, like sometimes like keeping a player happy is what's best to make your team win. Like an unhappy
for sure.
An unhappy Zach LaVine could easily lead to just a catastrophic bull season. And again, we don't own our pick. I think we own this year's pick coming up, but the one after that we don't own either. So we're really banking on Zach coming back.
To talk some Lonzo, to touch back to Lonzo Ball, talk about him and his potential destinations. I have to assume with the Clippers, it's going to be a sign and trade. Flight Mike, do the Clippers have money?
The Clippers do not have money. As a matter of fact, like, they are probably in one of the worst cap situations that I think I have ever seen, because they paid Marcus Morris a 4-year, $16 million contract last year. Well, $64 million in total. I don't know why I do that. And then they gave the same exact deal to Luke Kennard. Then you have Kawhi Leonard and Paul George signed to max contracts, and they were so desperate for point guard help that they traded one of the best contracts in the NBA and a player that perennially took a pay cut with them just because he wanted to stay in LA, and Lou Williams, for Rajon Rondo. That's how bad their situation is. So, I mean, you're a Pelicans fan, Coop. Would you do a sign and trade for Lonzo Ball?
Hell no. What are they giving us? What are the Clippers? It depends. I guess it depends on what they're giving us. Luke Kennard?
You're not getting anything. They don't have anything. They don't have picks. They have Luke Kennard. That's who they have. That's why the Clippers thing makes no sense. They have Terrence Mann.
I might like Luke Kennard, man. What you gonna do about it?
Okay, well,
Luke Kennard and Terrence Mann? Hey, that might be a package right there.
I think that would be the package. It would be probably Terrence Mann, Luke Kennard, and also you'd probably get Zubac or Rondo. Those.
Snap! Kennard shot 45% from 3.
Or Ibaka. It would 45. Be one of those 3 guys.
Yeah. You know what?
Man, Kennard, and then either Zubac or Rondo.
Well, I don't know, because you still have to pay Kennard too, so I don't know. That's tough. But
you're paying him till 2025.
Yeah, so that's tough. But is $16 million what it used to be? Like, is $16 million per year what it used to be? Like really? Like, is that bad?
No, but that is locking him in as.
That's
locking him in as the guy that you're paying that $15 million.
Yeah.
Like, it's not what it used to be, but that money
is
going to him.
I guess I'd rather just draft a shooter, honestly.
I think that's why you guys are willing to move on from Lonzo Ball, because you're projected to.
Now, I don't want to move on from Zoe, but I think we might be in that situation where a team like the Bulls or the Knicks can potentially outbid us for what we want to pay, and honestly, that's a little scary, because you don't want to lose Zoe for nothing. So
it always sucks.
Yeah.
Well, we're about to lose Lowry for nothing. So
you think so?
Yeah, I mean, dude, it's another instance of fit. Like, once we made, like, just our one of the biggest problems with the Bulls roster this season was not like just pure talent. It was the talent did not fit at all together. Like, if you take
you got
Kobe
that Team
White
USA
in a
problem.
vacuum, if you take Zach LaVine in a vacuum, if you take Lowry Markin, if you take Vucevic, all these guys are great players, but you can't play Lowry and Vooch together. It doesn't make sense. It didn't work at all. And so then they benched Lowry, and Lowry was horrible off the bench. He did not like being benched at all. So that's another thing. I'm pretty sure he has animosity against the Bulls right now.
Here's the thing. If you're a team, how do you feel about Lonzo Ball? Like, are you buying the Lonzo Ball stock? Like, do you believe that his statistics going up and his game being stepped up this past year is going to continue? Or do you think he was just doing it because he's in a contract year?
So one situation we didn't really talk about with Lonzo Ball is him potentially going to the Knicks. It's no secret that there's mutual interest there. And to kind of bounce the question back at you, Flight Mike, if you're the New York Knicks, is Lonzo Ball somebody that you want to tie your money into? Because the Knicks have worked hard to get into this position. They've worked hard to, be a playoff team, to be a potential destination for stars and superstars. They're finally there. People want to play in New York. We've heard Zion speak glowingly of it. We've heard, we've heard many different players call New York the Mecca of basketball and say the Garden is a special experience. So if you're the New York Knicks, are you okay with tying that money up in Zoe?
I really like this because I like that you mentioned this because about 2 months ago, Lonzo Ball came out and discussed his relationship with Julius Randle. And this is according to Shams Charania. And the quote was, "When I was with the Lakers, we had a team meeting early on when we were losing games and coaches were getting on some guys. And then I just spoke up for my teammates and I said what I felt. And I think ever since then, I formed a really good bond with one of my close friends to this day, Julius Randle. I spoke up for him, and I think ever since that day, we've been cool." So it seems like a reunion would be kind of adorable. I do like the idea of Lonzo Ball going to New York because, one, you get the Ball family name. Lonzo Ball is someone that you could hype up, someone that you could potentially sell tickets based off of. You could have LeVar Ball coming back saying all of his crazy stuff again, now that one of his sons are in a large market again. I think probably in terms of basketball, what intrigues me the most would be, imagine I want to see what Tibbs could get out of Lonzo Ball. Tibbs has always been very big on defense, has always had a gift with point guards, or at least Derrick Rose. I really want to see what Tibbs can do in terms of Lonzo Ball's development. And the Knicks have been interested. For some reason, I don't understand. The Knicks are in on every single point guard.
They're in on every player, bro. It's so crazy. If you see a rumor, you're going to see the Knicks just trailing that rumor.
Yeah, I think there's flexibility too in regards to sign and trades as well. The Knicks do have players that they could give up should, the Pelicans want at least something in return for Lonzo Ball. I like it. I really, really like it. I think they're probably my favorite to sign Lonzo Ball out of every team so far.
Well, what we're hearing, though, according to this article that we're pulling up from The Athletic, is that they are not focused on Lonzo Ball and instead are the most aggressive trade suitor for Colin Sexton. It says they are the most aggressive trade suitor out of every team in the NBA right now.
Bro, it's so funny because it's they're in on every single guard. It's
young bull, baby.
No, they're in on everybody. Forget guard. The Knicks have been rumored for everybody, bro. I love it for you, New York. You guys.
It's always been how it is, though. That really always LeBron was supposed to go. It's always been how it is. I
actually like Colin Sexton. There's two sides to Colin Sexton. On one hand, you could look at him as a player that was stuck on a pretty crappy team. As a result, he had the Kyle Kuzma effect. He was able to pump his numbers way further than Kyle Kuzma ever was able to, but 24 points per game, 37% from three, shooting 48% from the field, four and a half assists per game. So the problem is the fact that he's a locker room.
His teammates
he's a difficult
hate
locker room personality to get along
reason.
with.
Yeah, and it has to be way worse than they're letting on.
Wait, it literally says, "Oh wow, okay." The Athletic. All right, I'm looking at the New York Post, right? Various Cavs players will grow frustrated by the way Sexton dominates the ball, and opponents taunt them by saying during games, "You know he's not going to pass you the ball."
No way. That's hilarious. That's so funny.
Going, yo, he's not passing you it. Like, you know, you're guarding someone. You're like, dude, I'm just gonna take a break right now. I know Colin Sexton is just driving, shooting, whatever.
That's so crazy. I do that at LA Fitness, but I can imagine that happening in the NBA.
That's so funny. Like, that's so funny. And what's crazy is, like, again, like, we just looked at his stats. I mean, he's got pretty good shooting stats. I mean, his PER
his stats are great.
Low, like at 18, but, you know, offensively, it's kind of just surprising.
He's also improving year after year, and he had 3.5 win shares this past year, which is a huge jump. Like, all of his statistics are taking huge jumps. So, while also his usage was at an all-time high this past year, 29.7%. So, I don't know. I feel like, based off of what you guys are saying, the Knicks, at least in my opinion, got to where they are based off of tremendous team chemistry. You know, like, they got behind Julius Randle. They got behind all their players. They brought in Derrick Rose, which was great for the locker room as well. I don't think adding Colin Sexton, a guy that has question marks in regards to his ability to get along with teammates, would necessarily be the move. But if the Cavs aren't asking for that much for him, you know, if you could get him for...
Hey, man. Forget the question marks. RJ Barrett, Julius Randle, and Colin Sexton, who's passing that ball? Like, that sounds terrible, man.
Bro, watching Julius Randle is like just like, it's the most interesting. He might be the most interesting player to watch go to work. Like, the shots he takes and then makes I'm just like amazed. I'm like, bad shot, goes right in.
You gotta love the confidence. You gotta love the confidence.
I love Julius Randle, dude. When I went to the Celtics game in Boston, I got to see him. I got to see the Knicks, you know, of course, from New Jersey, and I only get to watch the Knicks and the Sixers, and the one game that was playing when I was in Boston was the Knicks. But I had to see Julius Randle go to work in person, and it was crazy. It was something. Like, it's even better than on TV. You know, like, you're just watching this man. It looks like he has no business taking these shots, and suddenly he's just knocking them down. But yeah, you're right. Who's passing the ball? I'm not sure at all. You would think they would be more interested in a guy like Lonzo, especially like we said, you know, like we were talking about Lonzo's defense. You know, it's Tibbs. Like, I'm sure he could get the most out of Lonzo's defense, and Lonzo's not taking away much off the court, like on the court. Like, he's letting RJ and Julius Randle go to work.
Yeah, he's gonna let those guys continue to evolve and become the best version of themselves.
Yeah, so that's my whole thing with Lonzo on the Bulls, is where it's like, I like that because, you know, you've got score first guys in Vooch and Zach, and so if you add a point guard who's not necessarily score first, more of you know, playmaker and defender, that works out perfectly. But with Colin Sexton, yeah, I mean, for the Knicks, it definitely comes down to asking price, because at the end of the day, they can just extend him. Like, unless they're getting, you know, an incredible offer, like, why would they not though? Right? Like, do you really believe Colin Sexton becomes a negative asset?
I mean, I just don't know, because like, it's not 2K like we said earlier. Like, team construction matters, like roster construction matters, like Mike said, team chemistry matters, especially for the Knicks. I mean, you know, it just takes one guy.
If there was reports of Darius Garland is pissed off at Colin Sexton, that would change things, I think, a lot. Like, you know, I think the vets being angry, that could just be a situation of you know, the Cavs aren't good. You know, they have a bunch of guys that are like.
But that's also the thing. The Cavs aren't in position to be getting rid of talent. Sexton is only 22.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm agreeing. I'm saying, like, unless it was like some crazy, like, you know, trade, like, yeah, I mean, like, unless you're getting for sure value. Now, what could be interesting is if they try to parlay. What do you think if they tried to parlay Sexton into the number one pick? Because a lot of people, that number one pick seems like it's being talked about as not like up for grabs. I wouldn't say that, but it looks like the Pistons are listening.
I don't think there's a chance.
You know, they haven't shut it down though.
I don't know, man.
I'm shook.
Like, if you're the Pistons, I would just shut it down. I'd just be like, we're not trading the number one pick.
I saw rumors that the Pelicans were trying to trade for Ja before like the draft or something, you know? So, and after the draft, obviously the Grizzlies were like, yeah, we were never trading that pick. I think that could be like, this could be one of those situations. Like,
the Rockets really want him. That's the whole thing.
Disrespectful to Jalen Green, if you ask me. But I understand it. It is Cade Cunningham.
I think Cade Cunningham is miles ahead of Jalen Green.
I think he
in
for
my
sure
opinion.
has the biggest.
Obviously, I'm not disagreeing. I'm not agreeing. But obviously, their best bet is to end up with Jalen Green, and to have all these reports coming out about them wanting somebody else. Obviously, they understandably why. Like you understand why they want Cade Cunningham. It's just not ideal. Like the chances of them getting him aren't great. You know, and when you're a high draft pick, especially number 2, and you're somebody as talented as Jalen Green, I'm sure you just want to feel embraced by the team that's going to be taking you.
I can imagine Cade Cunningham would prefer to go to Houston as well, because that's like 6 hours from home.
He's
in
literally embraced
Texas.
Detroit. We got nothing to base that off of. He's literally been like, yeah, we're about to turn Detroit up.
Very excited. Yeah, that was actually, I think there was actually a report completely saying that him and his like team or posse, whatever, they were very excited when Detroit got the pick.
After studying some film on Cade Cunningham, like, I remember the first time we brought him up in the pod, I asked Coop what he thought of him. After studying film on this guy, I think he could potentially be like the greatest number 1 overall pick since possibly like Anthony Davis. Possibly, if he fulfills his potential based off of like the skill set he has,
Coop,
and
he's
the
taking
bag
shots
he has.
at your boy.
Yeah, for one, passing Zion would just be insane. Like,
What do you mean?
I mean,
I said he could. I said he could be better than Zion. I didn't say he would. But like, I'm saying based off of like, if you compare this to like the 2017 NBA draft, where people were hyping up Markelle Fultz, or the 2016 draft where people were hyping up Ben Simmons, like Cade Cunningham's bag is insane. Like, you're talking about a guy that has the playmaking potential of Ben Simmons and the shot creating ability of Jason Tatum. That's terrifying.
I'm not sure Anthony Davis was a better number 1 pick than Zion either, but time will tell with that for sure.
All right, if you guys got to this point in the podcast, I want to hear. I want a comment section. Like, I can't get into this. I can't get into this.
Ranking like the last 20 number 1 picks would actually be mad interesting, because there's a lot of debate going on there.
So I don't know.
The number 1 pick, Anthony Davis, was like mad unpolished. Like he came.
Oh no,
like,
most definitely.
Project.
He was somewhat of a project. I agree. It was just like, I think at the time it was like a foregone conclusion. Everyone assumed that he was going to develop. I don't know why, but everyone was just like, okay, like we could, like,
well,
it's there.
because the way Kentucky played back then, they like were really team oriented, and Calipari would specifically with like someone like Cat or Anthony Davis, he would be like, hey, I know you could shoot the ball, but like that's not what we're gonna do. We're gonna focus on this season, like you coming in and just banging in the post. And so then you got guys like Cat who can like do way more than what he showed at Kentucky, but everyone knew that and everyone saw that in like draft combines and everything. So the college stats were a little underwhelming for those guys at times, but also Anthony Davis led his team to the national championship and was completely dominant in that run.
So currently, give me like a top 4 mock, guys, real quick. How do you think this draft's gonna go?
I think the consensus would be Cunningham, Green, Mobley, Suggs, right?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I'd have to agree with that.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I would like that. See, that's the thing with the Cavs as well, is like giving up on Colin Sexton seems insane, because it's like you get Colin Sexton, you get Garland, and then you put Mobley in there, and
Well, who says they want Mobley? Maybe they're getting rid of Sexton because they want a guard.
Okay, if that's the case, but that's where he's slotted right now.
I mean, nothing against Evan Mobley, but like if I'm the Cavs and I have to take Evan Mobley number 3, I'd be kind of bummed out, because I feel like this is a team that's just been hoarding big men. I
don't know. I think they are content with Jared Allen. I think them wanting to get rid of Sexton means they want to take a guard that they think they're going to get Green or Suggs.
There was a report saying that the Cavs would trade Jarrett Allen. Well, no. Insiders believe that the Cavs will trade Jarrett Allen if they land Evan Mobley in the NBA draft. This is according to Terry Pluto of Cleveland.com. I don't think it's... I also think Evan Mobley has a much higher ceiling than Jarrett Allen, but if you're the Cavs, man, like in the past year, you had Kevin Love, Andre Drummond, Larry Nance Jr., you traded for Jarrett Allen. Like, all right, man, enough with the bigs. You know what I mean?
Man, I don't know. I think Jarrett Allen's going to be great, and I think he's already really great at what he does. I might be higher on him than a lot of people, but I don't know, man. I think they'd be wild to give up on Jarrett Allen, and I understand the potential of Mobley, but I just don't know about that one. We're talking about a guy that looks like he could be a potential DPOY, a guy that's 6'11", 7'5" plus wingspan that that's already showing signs of a jump shot. You know, one of the most efficient players in the league. Allen's great at what he does.
We'll see definitely as the draft gets closer too. Like hopefully, we get some trades or get some, more insight there. But so finishing off with this article, because this article was just a treasure trove of information. Recently Hawks owner Tony Ressler, I hope I'm saying that correctly, said after the season that he hopes the team reached a fair agreement with John Collins. He also said that something along the lines of he did not expect every single player on the roster to be back, which is scary if you're a Hawks fan, because that kind of sounds like he's not willing to pay like luxury tax kind of thing. I'm not really sure. I don't know his reputation, but those words are not the best to me. And so with that in mind, John Collins, we have another statement here. Across the league, many believe Hawks forward/center John Collins increases value as a maximum contract caliber player during Atlanta's run to the Eastern Conference Finals. Dallas, Miami, San Antonio, and Minnesota are among the teams expected to show interest in Collins, believing he could be attainable as a restricted free agent. What do we think about that? And please go to Dallas.
Well, looking at the Atlanta Hawks payroll, I definitely think like their owner needs to sit down and just like shut up a little bit, because you have Tony Snell, that is, his contract is expired after this year. That's a $12 million salary that's gone. You have Clint Capella, and their top three paid players are Danilo Gallinari, Bogdan Bogdanovic, and Clint Capella. They have Lou Williams, amazing contract. That's going to expire after this year, unfortunately, though. And then they have to pay Trae Young after the 2021 to 2022 season. So from where I stand, they pretty much have to choose between like how they're going to manage Danilo Gallinari, Bogdan Bogdanovic, Clint Capella, and of course, John Collins. So, and that's where things get tricky. I think one of those players might potentially have to be traded. And in order to make sense for everyone to stay on board. But I think in this case, if you're the Hawks, you cannot lose John Collins. Like, this dude, like, you guys made it all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals. Like, you don't want to mess this up. This is your opportunity to potentially be a force over the next half decade. There's tremendous potential for this team. They clearly have their right coach. Trae Young is taking strides, and bear in mind, this is a guy that was literally in his third season. I don't see. I understand what the owner's trying to say. Maybe it's a little bit of a smoke screen, just so he could play hardball in negotiations, possibly. But there's no way they don't keep this nucleus together, bro. Maybe they'll trade Clint Capella. Maybe
if Collins wants the max, you're giving it to him, because
wait,
that's
you're
what
trading
it's looking
Clint
like.
Capella? That's not who I'm trading.
Yeah, you can't get rid of
Bogdan or
Clint.
Gallinari if you can.
You can't get rid of Clint. You can't.
Like, those are the $20 million guys.
So you guys are paying Collins the max? That's what y'all are saying?
Yeah. I mean, it's like one of those situations where he's not. To me, that's one of the situations where he's not full max caliber. He's not like one of those. He's not like all-star level at this point, but you can't afford to lose him. Which sometimes that's like the worst situation that you can be in, because then you end up overpaying and you get yourself stuck into a really bad situation. But I don't think that's the case here with the Hawks. I really like John Collins. as a player with everything that he does. I'm kind of actually really confused by like one of our first podcasts, or like the conversation we had around John Collins, because at the time it was like, oh, he doesn't, remember we were talking, it was like, oh, he doesn't like Trey, like playing with Trey, like he wants more. Like in the playoffs, John Collins was just like, he was just willing to just fulfill whatever role his team needed to win. Loved to see it, loved his energy, loved his enthusiasm after. Seems like a great locker room guy. Seems like everything you would want out of a potential franchise cornerstone who maybe doesn't develop into, a full-blown all-star, but when you've got Trey and you've got him, comparing the difference between him and like Porzingis, like Collins is putting up less stats, but like, I mean, it's just the way that they play together just results in more wins. You could just tell they're so much happier playing together. You could tell the whole team was just happy. I don't think you break this up at all. You just had an Eastern Conference Finals run.
I don't know if they're so much happier playing. Well, I mean, obviously, winning cures everything. I think that's what kind of happened when they got going. Collins just kind of accepted his role. Collins playing like further than that. Collins playing like how he played. Well, that's I respect that. But Collins playing like how he played was great for Trey, great for the Hawks, but it wasn't, great for Collins' production, obviously, his numbers.
But he's getting offered a max. So how is it not great for him?
I said for his production, yeah. Not for his contract. Well,
I guess like for his production. But like,
yes, it works statistically. And yeah. I mean, I love Atlanta. They overachieved. They're going to be good for a long time. It's really hard for me to map out their future. I think Collins is great. I think Collins in another situation is easily an all-star. If he's on his own team, if he's able to play like he played for the Hawks in his earlier years, I think there's no doubt he becomes an all-star. He's shooting 40% from the three-point line. He's one of the most efficient guys inside the arc. He's got a big bag. He's improved defensively. That being said, I don't know if maxing him is the move, especially when you have all of these guys to pay. I understand why you want to pay him. You just made, the conference finals. You just accomplished something that was incredible for your franchise. But at the same time, it's kind of obvious to me that they're kind of preparing for life beyond Collins when they drafted his replacement with the number 3 pick. And that replacement showed great strides in the NBA playoffs. This guy has gotten comparisons to Bam Adebayo. So when it comes to the Hawks, it's just like they're in a tough spot, but obviously good problems to have.
Yeah, this situation reminds me of the Oklahoma City Thunder situation, but I think it's a little like earlier in this past decade where they had to choose between Serge Ibaka or James Harden. And clearly, like in hindsight, everyone's going to say they made the wrong choice. But at the time, it seemed to make sense, the choice they made, because, James Harden.
I disagree, but okay.
I mean, yeah, but hindsight's 2020.
No, like not talking hindsight. At the time, there was still so many people that were disagreeing with the move.
Either way, here's the interesting part. You have DeAndre Hunter, that's 23 years old, that could potentially take the next step next year. You have until 2022 to 2023 to really figure that out. You have Cam Reddish that, by the way, dude balled out in the final game.
Cam's going to be a dog.
Insane. Yeah. I love Cam Reddish. I've always
Cam's going to be a dog.
That was great. The fact that he could come back after all that time and do that was shocking.
I wanted the Pelicans to take him.
I was so bullish on him coming out of the NBA draft
8,
because
wait, at number 10, we had 10. Sorry.
I was always really skeptical about Cam Reddish coming out of the NBA draft because he, like, ever since his time in high school, he's always had really good teams. And when he went to, when he formed that super team on Duke with Zion and RJ, another really good team. So I was very skeptical about him getting drafted and what his career would be like. But I saw tremendous potential in their final game. He really stepped it up in that playoff series, playing playoff basketball. And I feel like, bear in mind, this guy's only 21 years old. He could potentially take the reins over from Bogdan Bogdanovic, potentially maybe fill in Lou Williams' role a little bit more. It's tough because the Onyeka Okongwu thing that Coop said makes a lot of sense. They drafted a developmental big man who's, by the way,
wait,
only...
hold on, wait. I gotta step in here. That man is a center. He played 100% of his minutes at center. John Collins is a power forward.
You didn't let me finish.
But
I was going to say that,
like, that's why I'm just like disagreeing. Like, I don't see that as a replacement. See that maybe the replacement.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Either John Collins or Clint Capella potentially. But the thing is, I think the timeline. Also, bear in mind, Okongwu's 6'8". Bear in mind, the tough part about this is a center doesn't really become effective until he's maybe like 21, 22, a developmental center. So when could we expect Okongwu to start like filling a bigger role to the point where you can move on from like Capella? I'm not really sure. It's a very complex situation because after the 2021 to 2022 season, you have to pay Kevin Huerter and you have to pay Trae Young. So it's really tough to figure out how to do these gymnastics. What's Kevin Huerter's value on the market at this point?
Yeah, so a few things. So we should have taken, I'm not going to say we should have. I wanted us to take Cam at 8. That's where we picked Jackson. I love Jackson, though. Also, Korzimba is right. They list Okongwu as a power forward. He actually does play a lot of his minutes at center. To add on to that,
it's 100% of his minutes.
Yeah, that's what I said. A lot. I mean, that's just semantics. He plays a lot of his minutes as center. So to add on to that, I'm not going to deny Colin's impact for the Hawks. I just think for another team, his impact would be a lot more. And I'm not necessarily sure that's debatable, because I think he could bring a lot more to the floor than what he did for the Hawks this season. Maybe his role continues to grow as maybe Trae trusts him a little more, or something like that. But I think this is such an important time for Atlanta, because I'm not sure they should overreact based on what happened this season. Like, if you think them bringing back Collins and paying Collins the max and possibly offloading some of these other players is going to be enough for them to immediately stay in contention with teams like the Brooklyn Nets, like the Milwaukee Bucks, like the Philadelphia 76ers, then okay, yeah, go ahead and pay Collins. But if you're just not sure about the potential of beating those teams going forward immediately, then you don't want to just tie in. You just don't want to tie all that money up on Collins based on what you did this season, because this season is this season. It's in the books. It's over. And
sure, but I'd say looking, okay, John Collins, he may have averaged 14 and 9 in the playoffs, but in the regular season he was 17.6 and 7.4, shooting about 56%.
14 and 9 in the playoffs, that's not max money right there. And
I agree with that, but
his role in the playoffs is going to be his role in the playoffs. You're going to let Trae do his thing. But you're going to probably stick Collins in a corner and tell him grab some boards and play some defense. Is that what John Collins is best at? No.
I mean, maybe that's not best with him stat-wise, but for putting him on a winning team, it worked this year, and I don't see any reason why it wouldn't continue to work, especially if you can move.
I don't think they should have beat the 76ers. I don't think they should have beat the 76ers.
Yeah, but then everyone gets a year older. Everyone has that playoff experience. Everyone gets a year better, and then you bring in now you have Cam and you have DeAndre Hunter coming back, 2 young guys that are cheap right now. So I think it makes a lot more sense to move one of your other wings like Gallo or Bogdan, who played great in the playoffs, but I think they're both making 20 mil. If you can move one of those guys,
I don't think you can move Bogdanovic. I don't know if that's the move. He was big, man. They don't make the conference finals without him. You're gonna
have to make room for minutes for Cam and for DeAndre Hunter. Like, those are wings.
One of those guys could be a 6-man, even if it's Bogdan.
I'm not saying one of them has gonna be a 6-man, but I'm just saying, even with that though, if you've got Herter, Cam, DeAndre Hunter, Gallo, and Bogdan, that's 5 guys.
Cam is more of a guard in my opinion than a wing. He could play the wing, but I think he's more of a guard.
I don't really think so. He's not really a playmaker. I don't think he's really a 2 guard. I think he's been like.
He's versatile. He's versatile. You could play him in a lot of different spots.
I mean, he's averaged 1.3 assists this year. I think he's more of a small forward myself. But I'm just saying is that you have 5 guys there. I think it's easier because then if you lose Collins, then who fills in that 4 role? I think I'm higher on John Collins than you are, I guess.
No, I love John Collins. I just said he'd be a star on another team easy. I don't think you're higher on him at all. I think you're higher than him on the Hawks than me. But
I think if you have a great player, you don't let him go.
I don't think you. I mean, if there's somebody else that could fill, I'm not saying there is. But if there's like another play, I mean, DeAndre Hunter played power forward.
And if this interest, also, let me make this point. If this interest is here with him averaging 14 and 9 in the playoffs, then it'll still be there in 2 years if a guy establishes himself as, Cam Reddish comes on and, you have to pay him a ton, or DeAndre Hunter comes on and you have to pay him a ton. Like, John Collins, I don't think at all would be an unmovable contract.
You would hope so. His numbers could always continue to drop.
I would for sure bet on John Collins. I mean, that's a guy I would want.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I wouldn't want to lose him in a perfect utopia, I'd hope we're able to retain him. That being said, I also like the lineup that a lot of teams run, where they run a guy like where they run a small forward, a versatile small forward, a versatile wing like a Reddish or Hunter at power forward alongside a big. So that's also another option. Guys that can defend multiple positions and also replicate the 14 and whatever Collins gave you in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll see. I like John Collins at the 4 still. I mean, we'll see what happens with Cam. He was up and down. He did have, a good, like 1 game, right? Or was it 2? But definitely he had 1 good game. All right, well, I've got to go. So thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Do you guys have any final words?
I just wanted to, briefly shout out our earliest members. I like doing these verbally because these are the first 3 dudes to support us. Shout out to Brandon Scott, Off the Bench TV, Ray Guillen. Thank you for joining on the Laced Up Gold tier. Guys, make sure you check out our memberships, because this is how you could get access to our bonus podcast that we're going to start doing monthly, and members only live streams that we're looking to start doing weekly.
If you're still here while the music is cued, here are 2 videos I think you are definitely going to enjoy. Make sure to click on one of them. Again, I know you're going to love it. And other than that, have a great day and peace.